Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of watercoloring with Distress ink. So I have a piece of Distress watercolor cardstock and I am going to be using the Right Persimmon Distress ink. So I'm just putting a little bit on my craft mat and then spritzing it with water just to wet it down a little bit so that it will move nicely on my cardstock. And I'm creating like this strip of watercolor, but I want it to be not even, so I'm just kind of brushing it on there as if you were painting the wall or something. So I want it really messy looking, and I am just going to keep adding that. And then to the center, I'm going to make that a little bit darker, so I'm just going to add some more. I added a little bit more ink into that water, and you can see how it's a little darker in the center. And then I am going to keep blending that until, and I'm not going to the edges, so I want it to be lighter on each of the edges and then darker towards the center. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my heat tool just to dry that completely. I definitely do not have enough patience to wait for that to dry on its own. So then I'm taking some more of that watercolor and adding it over the center. And when you dry the watercolor and then add more on top, you can build the color, so you can make it quite a bit darker than the original color of it. So I'm going to take this one, dry it again, and then that little bit of ink that's left, I'm going to add that to the center and make that even darker. So I'm just building my watercolor color up and kind of creating that gradient look, so it's lighter on both the top and the bottom and then gets darker towards the center. So I am using this stamp set from Fawn. It has a cute little hamster and wheel, but I am going to use this tiny little heart that comes in there, and I'm using the same ink, so the Right Persimmon, and I'm just going to stamp this all over that watercolor. And I'm even going to stamp some of it in the white areas on top and below. So in the center, I'm going to focus on stamping lots and lots of these little hearts, and then it's going to fade off towards the top and the bottom, so there will be even fewer. So you can kind of see how I'm adding that in there, and then there's a little bit on the white space above and below. So I want kind of that gradient of the hearts to go along with the gradient of the watercolor in the background. So the image that I'm using, I'm going to use that hamster and wheel, so I'm just going to take that off and just place it on to my clear acrylic block, and I'm stamping this on a piece of Coordination's 110-pound cardstock with the Tuxedo Black Memento ink. So I'll stamp the wheel first, and then I'm going to go ahead and also stamp the hamster. And I'm just going to clean off my stamp really quick, and then I'll put the hamster stamp onto my clear acrylic block and just stamp that one down as well. And then I'm going to do some really simple Copic coloring. So I'm starting by adding the C1 to the base of the hamster wheel, and then I'll add a little bit of shading in with the C3. And then I'm just going to blend both of those colors together again with the C1. And then for the hamster, I'm going to color that in with the E21. And then a little bit of shading with that darker E23. And I just kind of go along the places that would naturally be darker and in like the little kind of spots where things overlap. And then adding a little bit darker color with the E25. And then I'm just going to blend that once again with the E21. So just some really super simple coloring. You could do this with colored pencils or watercolors as well. So then I went ahead and fussy cut those out. Next I'm going to put together my card. So I have a black piece of cardstock that's slightly bigger than my watercolor cardstock. Just going to put some adhesive on the back of that. My ATG gun likes to kind of mess up sometimes and it doesn't put the adhesive down. I don't know if that happens to anybody else, but it happens to mine fairly often. I'll just mat that on my black cardstock, and then I'm going to mat that on a white A2 size card base. Alright, so before I adhere down the hamster and the wheel, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. So I just kind of place those where I want them to go on my card, just so that I knew where to put the sentiment. So it says, I really like you. And I'm also going to stamp that with that Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And I'm just going to stamp it in the center of the watercolor area. So it's going to be on the darkest part of that right persimmon. And then to adhere down the hamster and the wheel, I'm just using some 3D foam squares from Best Creation. And I'm also going to put that one on the back of the hamster. Then I'll just place that down like he is running in the little hamster wheel. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the Wink of Stella glitter pen to the hamster, so the part that I colored gray on my card. I'm just going to add a little bit of sparkle and shine on there, especially because usually they're metal, so they're kind of shiny anyway. Alright, and then that is my finished card for today. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial of building your watercolors and coloring a little bit with Copic markers. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you catch all of my latest videos, and I will see you back here next time. Bye!